going to come up and present our Betterment Award.
Thank you, Jackie. I'll give a shout out too. I do a lot of networking groups, and this group is, I call it Networking with Purpose. We have a variety of things we do, and it's just a solid group of people as far as, whether it's helping the school or the variety of things that we do. And so if you're not a member, definitely look into it. That was just totally free. It wasn't part of my program. I do the Betterment Awards, and this month we wanted to recognize the O'Reilly Center for Hope, and my brain just froze. What was the school? Pepperdine. It was Pepperdine, yeah. So they basically, refurbished that and utilized this. And Michelle Garand.
Either way.
I didn't pronounce it right, did Garand? Okay. Vice President of the Affordable Housing and Homeless Prevention is going to accept that award. And if you can go ahead and make your way up here. Thank you for what you're doing in the community.
Thank you.
And,
what a great picture. Good job.
He's really going overboard.
He's good. He's good. I'll just say just one thing. Community Partnership of the Ozarks is opening the O'Reilly Center for Hope, and I just wanted to take a second, since we're brand new. I know you probably haven't heard of us before. So the O'Reilly Center for Hope is obviously so pleased to be able to have this as our very first award as representing on the north side. So thank you to you guys for this beautiful award. And I do have some fact sheets on the table, but essentially we are a one-stop housing and financial stability center. We're bringing together over 20 agencies to be able to provide direct services for individuals who are homeless to homeowners everywhere along the age spectrum, and anything that we can do to help individuals, we definitely want to do that. So we're so happy to be your neighbor, and thank you so much for this beautiful award. And lunch. Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Yes. Let me grab my other thing.
Okay. Well, now I'm going to tell you a little bit about Michelle. She's a really cool chick. She's one of my favorite people in the world, and she's got a biggest heart of gold. And she is also the Vice President of the Affordable Housing and Homeless Prevention at Community Partnership of the Ozarks. Michelle began her work at CPO over 20 years ago, working primarily with groups tackling issues relating to housing and homelessness, environment, and transportation through the CPO's Community Collaborative Initiative. Michelle now heads the Partnership's Affordable Housing and Homeless Prevention Division, which includes the O'Reilly Center for Hope, like she talked to us about. As CPO's newest initiative, the O'Reilly Center offers Springfield and the surrounding region a one-stop center for affordable housing, education, and homeless prevention services. CPO has partnered with over 20 agencies that will offer their services and provide resources and hope to the homeless and those looking for safe, decent, affordable housing and financial stability. I'm excited to hear more about Hope. Michelle.
Thank you. So I am not Amanda Stadler, and this is not October or August 27th, but really under COVID, nobody knows who they are, what they're doing, or where they are, or what day it is. So I think this is very appropriate. So one of the things that we do under my division is we oversee and facilitate the Ozarks Alliance to End Homelessness. And so that group is the regional planning body for Greene, Christian, and Webster County, and how we serve and who we serve for individuals who who are experiencing an episode of homelessness. So critical to that, as the cold weather sets in, driving around that we have a large number of individuals who are living on the streets. They don't have a place to call their own. They're either in an abandoned home, or they're out on the literally on the streets, or they're in places that aren't really meant for humans to habitate, so they don't have electricity or running water, things like that. So it's really our job as community partnership to bring those stakeholders together to try to address those issues. On those cold weather nights, we work as a community to offer specific places for people to go so that they can rest overnight and then go back to business as usual during the day. So I just wanted to talk to you about that today and kind of tell you why we do the things that we do and why this is critical. I have another handout. I just came with a bunch of trees for you today, so I apologize for that. But we do have a week of warmth that I'll talk to you about today. How do I make this go? This is good.
Click it.
Ah.
There you go.
I'm not very smart, so you have to help me through this. So what I'll be talking about today is the need for that crisis cold weather shelter, what that is exactly, and then really how can you, your business, or your faith community take part and help us implement and facilitate those. So on any given night in Springfield, Greene, Christian, and Webster, but primarily Springfield, we have about 430 households that are experiencing an episode of homelessness and kind of what I described. They're either on the streets in a sleeping bag tent, or they're in an abandoned home or building, etc. So we know that also coupled with that, we have 540 individuals, not coupled, that includes 540 individuals. As you can see, we have just way too many that are kiddos that are experiencing that homelessness with their caretaker. 45 of those are young adults, so 18 to 24, and then we have just under 400 that are adults that are really just trying to stabilize. So the crisis cold weather shelters, just as an overview, that is simply what's called a 12-hour shelter, so an 8 to 8 or something like that. So they come in at night, they rest, they get a shower, they get their tummies filled with a little bit of something, and then they just crash, and they have a nice warm place to sleep. In Springfield, we have developed parameters through the Ozarks Alliance to End Homelessness, where we have November 1st through March 30th is our designated cold weather sheltering period. We do that because there are city ordinances around that, and being able to serve individuals during that time are really those peak winter months. We enact our crisis cold weather sheltering when temperatures drop below 32 degrees. 34 is still stinking cold, but we have to draw the line somewhere, and that's where we decided to do that. 32 degrees. We have several different churches and faith communities. I know Schweitzer's been actively involved for 1 million in 2 years. Is this your 1 million in second year? To help us in a number of ways with either food or clothing or direct connectivity. But each of those shelters are independently staffed. So those are typically with volunteers or faith communities that come in. They get the room set up. And then essentially you just hang out overnight. So I get a lot of work done when I'm there, and a lot of emails answered. So Jackie's always excited when I have an overnight, because she actually gets things that she's requested. I get those to her. So, but the churches also fund that independently. I say that with a broad sweep because we do have a lot of agencies and community partners that help support that. Convoy of Hope is a great partner, and of course all of our faith communities pitch in to make sure that the blankets are washed and the towels are clean, and we have soap and all those kinds of things. and then they operate that. So they take that on. So East Sunshine Church of Christ is one that just comes to mind. They really do pitch in, and they have their volunteers come in overnights. They set it up, and they do the whole thing. It's quite a task, and we're so grateful for that help. Because it's organized through the Ozarks Alliance to End Homelessness, we work very closely with the federal government and then our local government entities to make sure that those are very protected and safe places, not only for the individuals that we're serving, but of course for the volunteers. So we have some pretty strict health and safety guidelines that have been set up through the city of Springfield to make sure that they are inspected and that, again, just safe. So we work with the police and the fire and Office of Emergency Management, and then all our best friends at the city. Well, there are so many people there that we work with. But this is just an example at East Sunshine Church of Christ. I apologize. I have a little frog in my throat that won't go away. I hope he's a prince. That would be good. So this is just an example of the cots. The gentlemen at East Sunshine, they only serve men. So the men will come in and they'll get their designated cot. They have a little goodie bag, typically there, their own blanket and pillow. They set it up and they clean it up, most typically, unless they have some physical challenges. So for 2019 and 2020, just a brief summary of what we were able to do as community. East Sunshine Church of Christ, they served 85 men. Those are unduplicated amounts. They're able to serve 100 men per night, just under our ordinance, and they've creeped up to that many times over the last year. Grace United, they're our women's crisis shelter. Oh, God bless you for lots of reasons. Thank you. You're awesome. One moment. Oh, that's much better. So Grace United Methodist stepped up, and this is really interesting. So Grace United Methodist is right across the street from an elementary school. So one of the parameters that we have in place through the city ordinance is that the shelters wouldn't be within a certain radius or a certain distance from an elementary school unless they gave permission. And so Grace United Methodist worked with St. Agnes, that was right across the street, and Bishop was so invested in protection and care of the women that he was, it took 3 minutes and then we had donuts and that was it. It was good. But Grace United Methodist has served, they serve typically about 14 women a night, up to 20 this last year. They have an ordinance that will allow them to do up to 20. Salvation Army, I'm sure you're very familiar with them, and then they were able to offer some overflow beds above and beyond the sheltering that they do for men. And then we had Connecting Grounds was a phenomenal partnership last year where they actually provided nice hot meals and then transported the gentlemen, women and gentlemen, over to the sheltering sites. City Utilities was another huge partner last year and provided a direct bus and bus route over to East Sunshine, because that's a trek. I don't know if you know where East Sunshine is, but it is over at Blackman and East Sunshine. So, and they are phenomenal. So what you'll notice about all those numbers is that was a last year. And so there's been something special that has happened this year called COVID, who has wrecked everything. So we were on a pretty good trek to be able to just get this up and going. It's textbook, people know what they're doing and they know how they're doing it. However, when COVID hit, of course, our capacity to serve has changed considerably, and the face of our volunteers has changed considerably. So in any faith community, we have a large number of individuals who are retired typically and so giving. And so we had a lot of individuals who are now vulnerable to COVID who are unable to volunteer for that service. So this year we have shifted. That's what we do. We're flexible, if nothing else, every single day, including I'm not Amanda. But we've developed something called a week of warmth. And so what we know is that there are hundreds of individuals that are out there on the streets that need to come in when the weather gets really cold. But how we do that has shifted just a little bit. We have our agencies that I listed in our faith communities. So East Sunshine and Grace are still ready to go. They're still ready to serve, to provide their space, but they need volunteers. And so we're doing things a little bit differently now, in that we are asking groups to serve. I'm going to pick on Schweitzer because you're here, and I love you guys, so I know you'll forgive me. But let's just imagine that Schweitzer is ready to serve. They would adopt a week a month. So they would say, I'm going to do the first week of every month. I'm going to have 10 people at the ready, 5 men, 5 women, ready to go if temperatures drop below 32. So when the temperature drops, we call and say, okay, we're ready. We need 2 men at East Sunshine, and we need a couple of ladies at Grace United, and everything is ready to go. It's all, everybody's trained, and beforehand, the places are inspected and background checks done. Everything is ready so that when those temperatures drop, then the people come. So we say to recruit about 10 people from any community or business, because somebody is going to be sick, or they're going to have their grandkids in, or something's going to happen. You have a pool of people to choose from. So that Week of Warmth campaign really does, or this kind of describes what we're doing in phase 1 to recruit those volunteers. Secondly, we have the space. So we know that the number of people that we can serve at East Sunshine and Grace and Harbor House anywhere is going to be limited based on the formulas that have been recommended by the Greene County Health Department. So because the capacity is going to be different, we may need more sites to serve. And so we're asking for expansion spots. The same criteria would be in place, that we would get to capacity, and we would ask for those churches to be onboarded, but they would be ready to go too. So they would be shovel ready, as we all have heard in the past. So they would be inspected by police, they'd be inspected by the fire department, they'd get their conditional use, they would just be ready to welcome those volunteer groups and the individuals that we'd serve. So I know this sounds so exciting, and a lot of people are going to want to do this. I know it, because it's fun. It's fun to care for people, it just is. And when you walk out in the morning and they've had a great night's sleep, and it's because you took the time to just hang out overnight, it really is something that is heartwarming for the rest of the day. I get cranky because I haven't slept, but my kids are cranky too, so it's like we all just kind of pitch in and yip at each other. So really, this says it all. Amanda did a great job with this quote, because it really does take all of us to do this. The churches can't do it alone, the companies can't do it alone, the city can't do it alone, and certainly Amanda can't do it alone. So we are asking for help, and really for this group, if you could just spread the word. And if anybody needs any more information, or you want to learn how a group within your organization, church, or faith community can adopt a week, then please just call Amanda. You can call me too, but I'll patch you through. But anyway, her number is on the bottom of this flyer. I would be happy to answer questions. Is that true? I mean, I would be happy if they'll let me. I'd be happy to answer questions. Yes, sir.
Are the numbers growing year-over-year?
So it's weird because of COVID. So we have been able to have a really great response under COVID because we have had an infusion of funding through the stimulus dollars through the CARES Act. So we have seen the numbers increasing, but we're able to scoop them up, especially the most vulnerable, and put them in hotels. Very generous hotels have helped us in numerous ways to be able to welcome our folks and make sure that if they are suffering from health conditions, age, or anything else that would make them vulnerable, then we are able to protect them. And we've been protecting people since March in hotels locally. Having said that, though, there's not enough, right? So we are seeing individuals that are coming out of hospitals that need to be cared for in a different way. They're not living in places that really need to be. I thought, oh my gosh, if that's me, she's going to kill me. But they're not staying in healthy spots. And so in that regard, we're seeing more people coming to us that are living in very substandard housing, if not uninhabitable. Yes. Yes.
I was curious on the sites for them to stay overnight. Is a shower required in those facilities?
No, they are not
okay.
required. And I will just mix my two little things right now. So the O'Reilly Center for Hope, one of the things that we are offering are some of those key critical services that are not available in community, broadly available. So right now in Springfield, we have 2 showers that are available for the unsheltered homeless. But now that the O'Reilly Center has opened, then now we have 6 showers that are available where they can come in and shower. So if an organization or if a spot does not have shower services available, then we would put them on our route and they could access the hygiene there. So we have showers, laundry, and heat treat. So, and hygiene. We have everything. We have everything there. So, yes.
What is your COVID protocol for people coming into the shelter?
For the shelters, well, it is a big deal. So, so that's part of the training, and I know I'm going to get it wrong, everything that they have put in place. But everyone, of course, when they come in, they get the temperature checks. We're talking about screening at the meal site, and then diverting individuals who have temperatures or don't feel well to medical services first. So by the time they get to those shelter units, then they would be screened for COVID, making sure they don't have any contact. We do the contact tracing and that kind of thing, then offering showers if possible, or routing them to showers before they get on the bus to go, just so that hygiene piece is addressed as well. And then, of course, the numbers and the spacing of all the cots and how we're serving individuals will be very different as well, and how we do cleanup will be very different too. So they've increased their cleaning protocols to do the high-touch surfaces, even overnights, so that we can maintain a clean environment for folks. So, yes. Yes.
I stayed at 2 of the churches.
Thank you.
I stayed at the Vineyard Church that was downtown, and then I stayed at I think it's Disciples of Christ Christian Church that's on National. You're heading south, it'd be right there before Sunshine.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say that, honestly, I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it to try to help. But walking out in the morning, that was gratitude that I've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, those guys were all polite and kind. They cleaning up their area, asking if they could help out. I mean, and thank you was like every other word, really. Words. It left me with a feeling that they're, especially in a time like this where everybody's so divided on everything, and then we've got a pandemic on top of it and all, it made me realize that there still is good
Yes.
out there.
Yes.
And right now that's important to me personally.
Absolutely.
Because it's really easy to see where things can get really dark in a community. And I don't know. If you get the opportunity to do it, do it.
Yes.
Because not only are you helping other people, but you will get something out of it too. It's an experience.
Yes. And so I really need to be able to say that we are recruiting groups, but we're also recruiting individuals that will make up groups. So thank you very much for your service. And really, we do a lot of safety training and safety protocols. We do a lot of screening beforehand. So it is safe. And I'll tell you what, I do the women's at Grace, and before the lights are out, most are asleep because they've been walking around all day, they've been cold all day, they've been, just stressed. And so they just kind of go to sleep. I mean, you just got to tiptoe. So it's like a library. So, did somebody?
I do have one more question.
Yeah.
Do you have to stay awake all night, or do you get to sleep?
Mm-hmm.
Because that would be like a deal breaker, I think.
Absolutely. I had the same question, like all night. So what they do is they divide the night up. So you either take the first shift or the second shift. And so you do the 10 to 2 or you do the 2 to 6 kind of thing. And so getting people up. So I tend to wake up at about 2 because I'm old and that's what old people do is what I've heard. I read it in a book and then I did it. So then I'm just kind of getting some stuff done then. So you can, and usually when you're meeting your partner, you always have 2 there for sure. Then you just decide among each other what you do. But so yes, good. That's a great question.
What about animals? So if someone has like a pet with them, are
That
they
makes me
able
the
to
saddest
use them?
thing ever. No, unfortunately. You can't bring your pets inside. I'm a huge pet lover, so it kills me. But like at Safe to Sleep, and that's one of our mainstream shelters for women, they allow dogs to stay outside, so they even have a crate, sometimes and things like that. But unfortunately, pets are not part of the picture. I know. It's sad. Someday, unless you want to do it, unless a church says, okay, we'll do that, I'm okay with it. So, not that I'm the decider, but I would vote for you. So, okay. Any other questions? Well, so I will tell you, so just as an upbeat part of the pet story, so at the O'Reilly Center for Hope, we know that pets are critical to the emotional well-being of the folks that we serve. That's just the truth of it. When you can't trust anyone, usually you can trust your dog or your kitty, and so you kind of got each other's back, and then there's a lot of protection there too. So knowing this, we at O'Reilly Center for Hope are very pet friendly. We invite pets in. We even have a squirrel that comes to visit, and so the squirrel is super cute. But anyway, what we saw at our old center was that, these little pooches and kitties are really just exhausted when they come in. It's hot or it's cold and they need a drink of water and they need to rest. So my son, who's perfect for me, so he got his Eagle Scout, and his Eagle Scout project was called Baxter's Landing. So we incorporated that into the O'Reilly Center for Hope, and it's really a cooling station or cooling and resting station for pets. So he has crates there. We have donations, which we are still accepting on a regular basis. I'll put a plug in for him because it's my son. But leashes, collars, food, toys, treats, even adoption of or sponsoring spay-neuter, something like that for the pets that come in. Cute story. We do get a lot of pets in, and for some reason we had a big dog day, and the cage. The little kennel door was propped open from one little guy that had left, and another lady came in and was walking across the hallway with a little chihuahua, and the chihuahua pulled the mama over to the kennel and got in the crate and just scratched it up and just fell literally right asleep. It was the cutest thing you've ever seen in your life. It was so cute. And we helped the couple, the humans, get some housing that day. But it is critical, and we know how important that piece is for folks. And so at the O'Reilly Center, we are pet friendly. And you'll probably even see my pet there on Fridays sometimes. Anything else? Did I miss anything, Jackie? So cpozarks.org/cold weather is where you can find out more about volunteering or serving through these cold weather months. And then we are having our ribbon cutting for the O'Reilly Center for Hope on October 23rd. It's a Facebook Live. You'll see that. I'm sure Jackie will post that for this group in particular. So that October 23rd. There was something else I was going to say about that, but I think that's it. 10 a.m. 10 a.m. And it looks like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And just so you know, Michelle kind of was our pitch hitter right then. She knew she was getting an award, but I think it was late yesterday or maybe even this morning that a conflict came up. Amanda couldn't make it, and Michelle decided she was just going to go ahead and be our speaker about Crisis Cold Weather Shelter as well. So great job, Michelle. It's a good thing you know a lot about all this stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Of course, it's near and dear to my heart, won the O'Reilly Center because I went to Pepperdine. And so I tell people it's kind of like my life has come full circle now. I'm at Community Partnership. I was at the kitchen before that. If you didn't know, I have a passion for helping those who are less fortunate in our community, not just homeless or at risk of homelessness, but those who are living, at or below poverty. And there are so many people that you wouldn't even know. People are really struggling all the time, but especially right now because of COVID. So, Michelle, thank you and your team for what you do. I appreciate it very much personally. Yeah. I do have a couple more announcements. As Matt mentioned, our 50th anniversary is going to be in our 51st year at some point. We don't know, but we're going to be 50 at 51. We'll just lie about our age, like everybody. We're going to be 50 when we're 51 in 21. So look for news about that. We don't know yet. We really don't. Things change from day to day, but I noticed, was it this week, that capacity on public property is up to 50% instead of 25%. So I think, we can maybe start making some plans now, right, Marcy? And I say that because Marcy is heading up that committee that is doing the planning, and then the planning halted after we planned, and then we planned again.
Park reserve.
Yeah. So watch for that as your board works and make some plans as we pay attention to those safety guidelines from our health department. And also our annual attendance party, we don't know what's happening with that either. So I'm glad I get to stand up here and say I know absolutely nothing about anything, but I'm going to totally blame it on COVID. That's why. So we do support 13 North Springfield elementary schools, and normally through the year we are giving quarterly prizes for the most improved attendance for a classroom, and we do a big party in May at the fairgrounds every year and invite those kids with 99% or better attendance and no tardies to a party. And we also invite their whole family because we know it takes the entire family to get a kid. Sometimes it takes more than one family, right, Kim? To get kids to school every day and on time. And I think at 99% in a regular school year, that's 2 days, I think, max, they can miss. So that's a lot of work and a lot of effort, and those kids really look forward to it and they strive for it. And we celebrate them in May. Except last year or this year in May, we couldn't do that, and we're modifying our program, and we're working closely with SBS to do that. We don't really know what that's going to look like either, but we are still going to support our 13 North elementary schools and support good habits with those kids. We may not reward great attendance because we don't want them going to school if they're sick, especially right now. But we are working with SBS to modify that program, and it is still going to forge ahead. And thank you, Andy Simmons is leading a committee to work with SBS, and Jordan works with him on that committee, and we're going to figure it out. We're going to hash out a new plan or modify our old plan, but we're looking at also including teacher opinions. What do they need? What do they need from us? This may be a great year for change. There's a lot of positives coming out of this pandemic, I think. So we're just going to move forward, forge ahead. We just don't know how yet. So watch for news on that. Again, you can visit cpozarks.org/coldweather if you want to volunteer, get more information for you, your church, your business, whatever your facility is. Oh, yeah. And we are getting ready to also launch tours of the new O'Reilly Center for Hope that is in the historic Pepperdine building. So watch for that as well. And then don't forget to share nsbanet.com with your friends, because we need a little sharing and a little love for our networking group. Like Matt said, we want to keep going strong and keep doing what we've been doing for 50 years and supporting North Springfield and all of the Ozarks, because we are the gateway to the Ozarks. We know that, so let's keep moving forward and being strong for North Springfield and our entire community. Thank you all for coming today.